morning. You're watching Business World Live. I'm Danie Laurel. It's the start of a new trading day, but first let's kick off with our top story. Traffic may have eased during the lockdowns, but Metro Manila remained as one of the most congested cities last year. Data from Amsterdam-based TomTom International showed that the Philippine capital was the fourth most congested city in 2020. That is despite the congestion level dropping to 53%. That's from 71% in 2019. This figure means that a 30-minute trip would be longer by half than it would be during the uncongested conditions in NCR. The Philippines trailed Mumbai, India, and Bogota, Colombia for the 2020 ranking. Moscow was the city that experienced the worst traffic jams last year. That's according to the Tom and Tom Traffic Index. February was the most congested month in Metro Manila, while the least congested was April, when the region was already under enhanced community quarantine. The study found that motorists in the capital lost a total of 188 hours or over 7 days to traffic last year. Transport expert Rene Santiago said the decline in jams and the bottlenecks last year was expected because of the lockdown. He specifically cited school trips, which he said has accounted for a quarter of the total daily demand. He also noted that there will be a short-term relief that's from the opening of San Miguel Skyway 3. San Miguel has said it would fully open all of the 7 lanes of the 18-kilometer highway after an official inauguration today, January 14th. The elevated expressway is seen to reduce travel from SLEX to NLEX to 30 minutes from 3 hours. Santiago said officials have not come up with realistic solutions. He said some of the government's programs, including the EDSA busway, is, quote, artificial because it is in direct competition with the MRT3. Okay, guys, checking in on the market close in Wall Street overnight. This as the House of Representatives over in the U.S. voted to impeach President Donald Trump for a second time, although a Senate trial for Trump will not likely get underway before his term ends on January 20. Now, you can see on my Bloomberg terminal here a bit of a mixed picture, but mostly towards the upside. The NASDAQ up by 0.4% overnight. That actually outperformed the S&P 500. You've actually got shares, particularly of Alibaba and Tencent, surging in U.S. trading. That's after Dow Jones reported that these tech giants will be spared from a U.S. investment ban, spurring that rally over in the technology shares. Now, you can take a look at Europe, mainly in the green. UK, however, suffering yesterday when it comes to the COVID pandemic. They had reported the most deaths in one day since the pandemic began. Let's take a quick peek at Asia. You've actually got stocks slipping in the open in Tokyo. They seem to be recovering now as of 9:12. You've got the Nikkei 225 staging a rebound that's up by 1%. You've got other markets as well staging a mixed picture here. The Kospi over in South Korea up by 0.12%, but the Kosdaq on the red side this morning. The FTSE Straits Times over in Singapore up by 0.6%. Now, big developments when it comes to the COVID front here in the Philippines. The Department of Health has said it has actually detected a passenger who arrived from the United Arab Emirates, and this was the first case of the more contagious COVID-19 variant that recently emerged over in the UK. This patient had actually arrived on January 7, is currently under quarantine, and authorities are now tracking passengers from the other flight. Now, this you can see in my terminal may be rocking the index. Of course, it has been feared that this would happen sooner rather than later. You can see the index sliding immediately by 0.7% to 7,100 levels. Now, the focus, however, will be on the banks today. That's as the Bangko Sentral has just reported November bank loans up by 0.3% year on year. However, that growth is actually slowing. I'll pull out the financials index for you guys. Nevertheless, so this expanded pace of 0.3% is comparing to 1.8% growth that we've seen in October. So that is, something that might be worrying the banks here and investors as well, when it comes to whether consumption is actually picking up. You've got loans for productive activities growing 0.5% year on year. That's versus growth of 2% from the month prior. In terms of household consumption, loans rose 7.1% year on year versus 7.9% previously. Now, another one that is growing is the M3 index. That's actually money supply growth. That was up 10.5% in November, but that's still a slower rate compared to a revised 11.6% in the previous month of October. You can see on my terminal here, financials quite badly hit this morning compared to the rest of the index, down by 1.2%, with BDO leading that slump, down by 1.8%. Now, recall that Central Bank Governor Ben Diokno has said that he sees no need for a liquidity boost, at least for now. They say that there's ample liquidity. There might not be a need to reduce the bank's reserve ratio requirement at this time. Now, I just want to take a quick peek at our biggest movers this morning. As we kick off the trading day, you can see only 4 companies in the green, led by JG Summit. So some SM Prime as well as property holdings. You've got some consumer stocks, but on the downside, you can see GT Capital slumping by close to 5%, together with a couple of property stocks, Robinson's Land and Mega World, bearing the brunt this morning. Okay, checking in on the biggest headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The Philippine Institute for Development Studies found that the country's free trade agreements with foreign countries boosted labor productivity but did not generate more jobs. Now, according to a PIDS report, the influx of imports under zero tariff agreements empowered businesses to heighten labor productivity. That's without hiring additional workers. Researchers explain that businesses are hesitant to increase employment. That's despite benefiting from lower importation rates, because it entails long-term investments through in-house training and skills development. Thus, the group believes government trade policy should be supported by employment policies to address the lack of new jobs. The group says the government needs to increase the confidence of industries and companies in the country's growth story for them to translate their gains from tariff-free imports towards higher employment. Now, this from the Philippine Star. The Management Association of the Philippines renewed calls for the safe reopening of the economy, as well as the immediate enactment of the CREATE bill. This as the group welcomes the government's efforts to fund the mass vaccination program in the country. MAP is joining at least 30 business organizations who are submitting a joint statement in support for the CREATE bill to both chambers of Congress. Although for former Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernie Pernia, what the country needs right now is the passage of the Arise bill. Speaking with One News's The Chiefs, Pernia explained that the Arise bill is a demand-driven stimulus that will help the economy by putting money in the hands of workers and MSMEs. With food security becoming a key concern during the pandemic, citizens are now questioning what the government is doing to increase agricultural output and bring the country to self-sufficiency. Here to give us an update on that sector, we have with us Assistant Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, Noel Reyes. Good morning, Asec, and welcome to the broadcast.
Good morning, Danie, and good morning to our televiewers. And for Business World Live, good morning, sir. Everybody.
Good morning, Asec. Asec, agriculture had been historically one of the laggards when it came to growth, but suddenly was thrust into the spotlight, was actually one of the few sectors that were growing during 2020. Give us a briefer on where the sector stands today when it comes to resiliency and meeting the government's targets.
Okay. We were able to survive, and we're rebooting, Danie, and despite the pandemic and the typhoons last year, we achieved a relatively good level of food security despite all the challenges. And we had a record rice production last year at 19.44 million metric tons, besting the highest in 2017 of 19.27 million metric tons. Inflation was managed, though, and food supply and price management, but this early, we were experiencing tight supply of pork and vegetables due to the typhoons last quarter of last year. And the agriculture, again, you said, the agriculture sector grew by 1.6% during the second quarter, third quarter 1.2%, and overall we're looking at about 1% for the rest of the year. And the PSA, Philippine Statistics Authority, will issue shortly the performance of the agri sector in 2020. Again, we're looking at the food supply demand for 2021. Rice, we're good for 3 months. Fisheries, a week. And we're down in pork for about a month supply. So hogs are coming in from Visayas and Mindanao and parts of Luzon where ASF is not prevalent. And it has, according to industry, our consultations with the industry yesterday, they said that hog population in Central Luzon dipped by 70%. That's why we're experiencing tight supply and high prices. So, Danie?
Sir, I'll get to those points in a few minutes, sir. I just wanted to ask, in terms of the pandemic, what specific programs have been put in place to ensure the safety of the farmers when it comes to food production and also more efficient supply chain when we saw that during the lockdowns it was difficult to access food?
Okay, thank you, Danny. We're vigorously implementing, and last year also, the Plant program that encompasses crops, livestock, poultry, and fishery. So we had additional money for rice production through the Bayanihan 1 and 2 and the regular rice program. We had additional procurement fund for the NFA. On top of its 7 billion budget, we expanded our Sure Aid and Recovery project. That's a amelioration for rice farmers of over 5 billion. We have expanded our agriculture insurance project. We have upscaled our Kadiwa marketing, Niani at Kita, to bring produce directly from the farms, fishing grounds here to Metro Manila. We also implemented an integrated livestock and corn resiliency project that we have to see the results this year. We have expanded the small ruminants and poultry project. We also have a coconut based diversification project, and we'd like to see increases in these commodities this year. Fisheries, we're getting there. Aquaculture will be given stress and additional budget. We revitalized our urban agriculture and Gulayan project. That's why this has given rise to new niche, new clique of and plantitas among us. No? And then strategic communications, again, engagement with the media and reporting all these accomplishments through this program, one of those.
Thank you, sir, for that update. Sir, on the inflation print, you mentioned, rightly so, that it's still nevertheless within the target, but the last print, at least for December, was higher than most analysts had expected. And to one extent, it might, as you mentioned, been because of the typhoons, but you've actually got, meat prices increasing by close to 10%, vegetables by 20%. Can this in any way be addressed structurally and not necessarily be blaming it on the typhoon? You've actually got the Department of Finance asking the Department of Agriculture to strengthen, for example, the ASF program, the program against ASF. What's your response to this, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Danie. So on the immediate term, for the pork, we have to increase the shipments of hogs from Visayas and Mindanao and other ASF-free areas in Luzon to Metro Manila and NCR. And we have to sell pork via Kadiwa outlets here in Metro Manila in partnerships with agri-racers themselves, federation, and associations. And then we have to enhance pork imports via the MAB system, the minimum access volume. We we are allotted about 54,000 metric tons of pork. So they'll will be start coming in just to stabilize supply and prices of pork. On the medium term, we'll implement the Bantay ASF sa barangay, aimed to prevent and control ASF and here in Luzon, basically in partnership with LGUs, private sector, veterinary groups, and hog raisers and traders themselves. And of course, massive repopulation in ASF-free
Mm-hmm.
areas, or green zones, and of course the payment of those who were affected by ASF. We're giving away 5,000 pesos per head to a maximum of 20
Mm-hmm.
heads, about 100K, 100,000 for each farmer maximum, and provision of 30,000 pesos worth of livelihood projects for affected farmers. That's a zero interest, 10 years to pay, no collateral. Okay, for them to engage in other livelihood projects. For vegetables, we have to expand this through Kadiwa. We ask our regional offices to coordinate with their farmers, cooperatives, and associations to bring in more vegetables and fruits to Metro Manila. We have to
Mm-hmm.
expand on agriculture here, nationwide, especially in Central Luzon and here in Metro Manila. And then we'll be distributing more free seeds and planting materials here. And on the
Mm-hmm.
medium term, we have to put up processing facilities for vegetables and fruits and provide our farmers groups transport vehicles so they can bring their produce directly to Metro Manila. And for fish,
Mm-hmm.
we're experiencing high prices. We have to expand our agriculture sector, tilapia and bangus for one, and then uh, bring in more imports during off season. Just like
Mm-hmm.
this, we're experiencing a tight supply because of the closed fishing season that was imposed
Okay.
November, December, and January. That will be lifted in February.
Sir, if this inflation continues on an uptrend, would you be considering capping prices on fruits and vegetables or meats?
Yes, yes. So the secretaries instructed our group, the Bantay Presyo group, to study the SRP structure, and probably will come out with some announcement about a week or two. So the secretary has instructed the team to review the current suggested retail price scheme. Okay?
Okay, so we're going to be watching out for that. And finally, sir, just an update on the rice tarification law and whether it has had a net positive benefit. So rice prices quite low, but at the same time, farm gate prices also slumping. What's the incentive for farmers here to keep producing, and how long is it going to take for them to become competitive to the imports?
Yes. So we discussed that, and then thanks to our farmers, we achieved, despite the typhoon, 19.44 record rice harvest. But then again, we have to give them more equipment, dryers, facilities, and all to increase the quality of palay and
Mm-hmm.
approximate the buying price of NFA to 19 pesos. So we'd like to see escalation of prices this coming harvest season for the main harvest season. And then we'll also encourage NFA
Mm-hmm.
to refurbish their storage capacities, their drying facilities, and for them to uh, buy more palay from farmers. Again, we're also encouraging local government units themselves, no, top rice producing provinces, to engage in direct buying of their palay from their farmers. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for those updates. Very useful indeed to understand where we stand in terms of food security. That was, of course, Asec Noel Reyes from the Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, Danny. On behalf of Secretary William Darren, Department of Agriculture, good morning.
Good morning, sir. And that's a first look into the business day this Thursday, January 14, 2021. I'm Danie Laurel. Catch Business World live for the market closes at 3:15 p.m. today. We are One News.